Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alan Pockhotter, and you're listening to Call Talk for April 10th, 2019. Today's topic is conversational virtual agents, advantages and caveats. If you're listening live, we invite you to be part of the show and ask questions. Here's how you do it. Email me at calltalk@benchmarkportal.com. I want to remind everyone that all of our shows are archived and available to listen to at benchmarkportal.com any time of the day. And now with that, I would like to introduce the host of the show, Bruce Belfiore.
Thank you, Alan, and welcome back to Call Talk, everyone. Well, conversational virtual agents, sometimes known as chatbots, are all the rage these days. There's really been an explosion with easily accessed and low-priced conversational frameworks from the likes of Amazon and Google. However, while it's easy to put together a bad conversational application, developing and deploying one that actually provides a useful service to everyone involved is a different matter. On this show, you'll hear about the different channels on which virtual agents can act, how their knowledge base should be structured, the best approach to training, the necessary integrations, and why machine learning, with all its promise, is not enough on its own to build conversational agents that you can trust to talk with your customers. We will also cover the integrations necessary for their best operation, the changes they bring to the organization, and their potential impact on the bottom line for customer service. These are all really important items for contact center success going forward, and so we're going to talk with an expert on the topic, Livio Pugliese, who is CEO of Interactive Media North America. Welcome to the show, Livio.
And thank you for having me, Bruce. Yes, I'm very happy to be here. And I follow your show, and I find it very interesting. So thank you again.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for that. And just for everybody's information, Livio currently heads the North American operations of Interactive Media, which is an Italian company active in the conversational customer service field. He was previously at Genesis, and Livio has held roles in product management and marketing, technology development, and as well R&D. He was born in Italy and has lived in the United States for more than 20 years, is now based in San Francisco Bay Area. He's the first rocket scientist we have had on Call Talk, having earned a degree in astrophysics from the University of Turin. Bravo, Livio. And Livio likes to ride his motorcycle along the California coast and has recently taken up surfing, so he's really become a local boy here. It also happens that Livio hails from the same corner of Italy my grandparents came from, and we can speak the same crazy dialect in addition to real Italian, as well as a little bit of English, right, Livio?
Yeah, a little bit. So, and unfortunately, there are very few of us left on Earth who can still speak this dialect. So, at least call centers don't need to worry about getting translation services for us. Although I must say, there is a Wikipedia version in Piedmontese, which is the dialect. So there is hope. But you can't imagine how surprised I was when we met the conference in Utah. So someone in Utah, of all places, who could speak it. It was really serendipitous.
That's right. It's pretty unusual. Well, exactly. There is really, unfortunately, it's a dying dialect, and there's no need for a telephone service that says, for service in Piemontese, push 9.
No, actually, I would actually say push 90 at this point.
after going through every other language on Earth. Okay, anyway.
Right. And
we've had a lot of fun with that.
Regarding the astrophysicist thing, unfortunately, I'm non-practicing. I've been non-practicing for a long time. It's really something that maybe I miss you a little bit. But, conversational virtual agents are also interesting.
Gotcha. So you're a recovering rocket scientist, not a practicing. Okay. That's
right. That's right.
Okay, great. Well, listen, just to dive into our topic, can you start by explaining in English preferably, what conversational systems are and how they work for our audience.
Sure. So for a conversational system, one means a system that understands what humans are saying, at least most of the times, and is able to answer in kind, to execute commands or fetch information. So how it works in very big strokes is that the speech is streamed to a system that transcribes it into text as it comes in. And that's something called an ASR, Automatic Speech Recognition System. And it's passed over to the AI, or semantic engine, that understands the meaning and is able to formulate a response, always in text form. And to formulate the response, it uses a bunch of algorithms and context data. It dips into databases and so on and so forth. So once the response is formulated, it goes back to a text-to-speech system that generates the speech back on the line. And so this used to be really the stuff of science fiction, but now it's here with us. And obviously, most people use it at this point. And it's, of course, not only for customer service, but customer service is our focus today.
Yes. Okay. Now, that was great. Thank you very much for that explanation. So conversational systems in our area in our field are getting a lot of attention. So why is it that they are getting so much attention these days?
Well, they really are able to give a better customer experience, especially for self-service, without the investment in agents, who really are the costliest part of contact center. And they're getting more and more, let's say, cost-effective, easier to develop because of the AI explosion and the availability of general-purpose conversational platforms like Google, like Amazon, AWS, and so on.
Okay, great. And so explain to us what the advantages of a conversational system are.
Well, with a well-executed conversational system, everyone involved wins. The customer, because there is a better and more natural way of accessing information and doing stuff with a company. And also at any time of the day, of course, because virtual agents don't sleep. The company saves a lot of money by needing fewer human agents. And of course, agents can be retrained to do other things that are possibly more rewarding as well within the organization. And remaining agents as well, because when the conversation or a call, an interaction comes to them, all the most boring and more repetitive tasks have been already done. And so they get the more challenging cases and can be more creative on them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So really there's advantages to this in terms of saving the money on human agents, and we all know, though, that so far the employment in our field continues to grow, and that's because of the explosion and multiplication of communication between companies and consumers. It's just keeps on growing. So, but in terms of the easier stuff to do, certainly the agents, would be relieved of that because of these systems. Well, okay, so let's link to something that everyone is familiar with on the technology side. So clearly there are general purpose consumer systems. Tell our listeners how those fit into this overall picture.
Yes, of course. There's Alexa, there's Google Home, there's Siri. So these are really not optimized for customer service, and they wouldn't work very well by themselves in an environment where you need a very deep, very specialized knowledge, and also buried in the company knowledge base, which companies are not particularly keen of exposing to Google or Amazon. So also, I don't know how many times you ask for something I have Google Home, for instance. I ask for something, and it comes back with, sorry, I can help you with that. So this is not very good. We need a different approach for customer service.
Right. No, in the case of customer service, you can't come back and say, sorry, I can't help you with that. Well, that's why I called, is because I need help with that.
Exactly.
So you're going to have a different system or a beefed up system in order to do that. And well, tell us about what that would be.
Well, this goes a little bit into how these systems work. So the general purpose AIs are all machine learning. While they use basically the whole knowledge in the internet to answer questions. But there are also systems that are semantic based. So this with semantic based systems, you have a lot of rules and you have control over the data. Not the same as with machine learning. So, for instance, machine learning gives possibly, if used only by itself, can lead to problems. So, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, Microsoft unleashed their brand new chatbot on the internet live. It was called Tai. And in a few hours, it learned from the questions and the comments coming in, and it become racist, sexist, violent comments, and they had to cut it very quickly. So the problem is really what data and how you select the data. So with a semantic-based system instead, you have control over the data you put in. It's more laborious, but it works very well when the data space or domain is not very big. And it's basically deterministic, so you can control it really well. So a combination of the two is even better. You can start using machine learning to categorize the knowledge in the domain. And then you use semantics to refine the training of the system. So, for instance, once you have captured the way people ask for certain things using machine learning, you introduce rules and synonyms and concepts for the system to work on and see what happens. You trace how things go badly and iterate. So you add more rules and you add more expressions, and at the end you can get a system that gets it right 90% or more of the times, which is really good.
Yeah, no, that's very good. That's very good. And when you think about it, it's natural that you would need to have this. I mean, just knowledge management for agents, obviously, when it's done well, takes effort. You have to make sure that knowledge management system is kept up to date, has the latest stuff in it, is relevant to the users, and is easy for the users to use. Similarly, with virtual agents, conversational virtual agents, you would need to have the same kind of care in terms of making sure that what comes out is going to be good, and you're going to have the specialists to do that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Livio, I expect that these will work on any channel. Is that correct?
Yeah. So basically, channels are voice and text at the moment, right? There's no, for the moment, there's no video, of course. So the same engine can be used for both voice and text. Obviously, the voice is converted into text by the speech recognition system. But there are different requirements for voice and chat. So for voice, first of all, you have the problem that it needs to be very quick, real time. For chat, it's not a big deal if the system answers 10 seconds later, just like a human agent would. Then chat you have possibly some typos, some abbreviations. But for voice, you have a lot of different turn of phrases because you use different ways for saying the same thing. You have meandering meaning. People get lost and then get back to the point, or they just change subject completely. You have background sounds that have to be filtered out. So it's more complicated, definitely. So it is a differentiation for these systems. There are not too many systems with voice now compared with chat.
Okay. Yeah, no, those are all those complexities that you just mentioned, including background noise filtering and real-time requirements, et cetera. Very good points to make for our audience. But at least voice recognition and text-to-speech are really not a problem anymore. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, no, they're not. I mean, at this point, it's mostly, you can see them as commodities. It is a matter of integrating with the best service depending on the particular task you are doing. So, for instance, since Google is very strong in maps, it makes sense to use Google Speech to recognize addresses. There are certain technical details that are different from the various companies providing the service that determine the best one to use. And then, of course, there is pricing of the service and ease of doing business with each of them, which is also important. But new services like this are sprouting out all the time for new speech recognition engines and new text-to-speech as well. So, in essence, what you do is you capture the audio from the call, you stream it, and then the person receives back the transcribed text. It's at this point very routine.
So there's a lot that's being done there. Now, give us some other advantages of conversational virtual agents for customer service.
Well, so you want the ability to filter things a bit, right? So at a certain point, not necessarily the virtual agent will be able to solve all problems. Actually, in most cases, it may not. But when the call is handed over to the agent, especially for voice, there is potentially a great advantage due to the real-time analytics that you can do. Or simply, the whole conversation is transcribed anyways. And so you can send the whole thing, and the agent has the knowledge of what's going on, if the caller is calm or maybe is upset, or how to handle the call better. So another thing is that voice calls are pretty hard to insert into the digital age. Companies have huge archives of recordings, but having the transcription that is ready in real time makes doing analytics much easier. So basically, it's a way to insert voice interactions into the digital age more readily. Of course, all this comes to a cost because you need to integrate your conversational systems with a big variety of contact center software implementations, CRMs, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think this is where, for a lot of our listeners, it's probably, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? And that's where the challenge comes in. And what does this all mean? And how can I make sure it's all going to work? And that's where, expertise is so important. Well, what do you see as the future in the industry?
Well, the industry is growing. There is no doubt about it. But there will be certainly a shake-up. So I am in contact with Gartner, and according to them, there are about 1,500 to 2,000 companies offering some sort of conversational system. So most of them are only chat. Yeah, no, exactly. And so they're only chat implemented as an overlay on top of Google or Alexa. And also, interestingly, there were approximately 3 times more implementations of the system than there are companies using these chatbots. So it means that basically companies are testing the water. They are trying this or that supplier, this and that approach, and discarding most of them. So there's no doubt that not too many conversational companies of these 2,000 will survive in the next couple of years. So they really need to differentiate, and voice, for instance, is a big differentiation because it's the harder to do, as I said.
Well, and if you think about the fact that there's probably at least 150,000 ACDs in the world, probably more like 200,000, and a big chunk of those are in the United States and North America. And if you have, there are 3 times more implementations than there are companies using the chatbot, it also indicates that there is just the vast majority of companies have not even tried to implement this yet, or have only tried to implement the more sort of basic kinds of this. And therefore, there's a tremendous need for knowledge of information to help people make decisions on what to do in the future. Wouldn't you say that, Livio?
Absolutely. So there is a lot of hype. There are relatively few successful implementations. And the industry is just beginning. It's definitely going to grow tumultuously, but it's. I think that the main feeling at the moment among possible users is confusion.
Yep, I agree. But and that's why it's so important to have the kind of clear conversation and sort of setting out of the components that you did for us today. Well, these are great insights, and I noticed that Alan has some questions for you. Alan, over to you.
Yes, we have one question from Victor. He is saying, I am in a medium-sized contact center in the healthcare sector. Can you give me a use case you have seen in my sector?
Yeah, so that's very interesting. In general, at the moment, the implementations that are out there are for big companies and big contact centers. The reason is that to have being able to have a good virtual agent is expensive, and so you need to have volume. But companies are starting to come out with generalized use cases that could be interesting for many smaller contact centers. So really applying the 80-20 rule, in which 80% of the use case is already done, is general, and then the 20% is integration. So, for instance, one possibility is appointments. So, when you have someone calling in to book an appointment, the use case is really very similar for all appointments, including a doctor appointment, of course. So you would need to be able to differentiate between the different specialties on the one hand, and integrate with your calendar in the back end. But once you've done that, it's done. So in essence, it's really an 80-20 use case that I've seen. So that could be interesting, I think.
And in this sort of situation, Victor might also be in a situation, perhaps he's in a hospital setting, I'm not sure, but if he's in a hospital setting, they may have physician groups that they're working with. We've done a lot of work with those, and they can be very complex at times. And I assume that the system can be programmed such that Dr. Smith wants to see patients who are under 70 for 20 minutes, and if they're over 70, he or she wants to make sure that there's 30 minutes that's allowed for them. That sort of thing can be programmed into the system, I assume. Is that right, Livio?
Absolutely, yeah. So you can definitely ask. Usually in this kind of settings, you already know who the patient is, so that would be that makes it easier. But otherwise, you can ask the age of the patient and more information about where they live, or also what location is better for them. So this would make much more user-friendly than simply calling and waiting in line for a long time to talk with someone.
Right. So the system could either ask the question, or if the answer, for instance, age, date of birth is the thing they love to ask you in the healthcare sector all the time, and use that for every, not only for classification reasons, but also for identification reasons. The system could dip in, take a look at that, find out what their age is already, and put that into the equation without even having to ask them their age, correct?
Oh, yeah. If they know who the patient is, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, very exciting things that could be happening there. Okay, so great answer for Victor. Alan, do you have another question?
Yeah, we have a couple more. This one is from Emmanuel. It's hard for an operational manager to keep up on all the new developments in the field. It's overwhelming. But I know my center needs this. Are you available to talk, and how can we contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. It could be very confusing, as I said. Absolutely, I would be very happy to talk. So you could email me at lpugliese, that's Pugliese at imnet.com. So I'll be very happy to talk.
Okay, great. All right, Emmanuel. Hopefully you'll get some answers that you need. Do we have another question, Alan, as well?
Yes, we got one more from Camilio. I am with a large contact center in the financial services sector. Should I start looking at this?
Oh, of course, absolutely. So again, here the best use for this kind of conversational applications is to gather all different, gather the main data, main information from the caller to figure out what, how to forward the call to the best agents, the best group skills, and so on and so forth, or simply to. There are several ways of serving people, several services you can give without even involving the contact center. Like, for instance, simply calling for balance, or if a transaction that's cleared. This is all stuff that can be done automatically. Yeah. So, for instance, if someone calls in to look for a mortgage, it could be interesting to know approximately the size of the mortgage, the amount involved, and there may be different groups working on different mortgages. That's another possibility. And these kind of systems definitely can understand that and route the call to the best group.
Yeah. One of the things that we have seen have success too is that sometimes, given the nature of the avant-garde nature of this kind of technology, is that if there are user groups that are affiliated, they're in the same vertical, but they're non-competitive, they can talk with each other, and they can borrow from each other, and they can, in some cases, pool together to collaborate with a provider in the industry in order to get what they need at a lower cost and with more chances of early success. So, for instance, in the healthcare sector, you have a lot of hospital groups that are not nationwide; they're local. They have their own area, and they can partner with others in the industry, but who are in other areas and who are. They start a dialogue, and they find they have a common need in this area or other areas, and they can sort of work together and try to get something good going. Obviously, if you have that kind of group already set up for other reasons, you can leverage it for something like this, and you're very attractive to providers because you offer, a number of client possibilities if they end up winning out in terms of, getting the order for supplying this sort of thing. So healthcare, local banks, obviously credit unions, who are oftentimes very collaborative with each other. These are all areas where you might say to yourself, gosh, I'm in this category. It's all a little bit beyond me. But if I can find good providers and also perhaps broaden my shoulders a little bit by concatenating myself onto other users, that could be something that's very good for some listeners. Livio, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. There is obviously very big potential savings in scaling up these kind of things. The use cases for a particular hospital the use cases are going to be the same as a different, the next county hospital, of course. There will be that 5%, maybe that's different. In particular, I'm thinking more than hospital, maybe the banking sector. There will be some product names that are particular for that particular credit union, which are different from the other credit union, even though it's the same. And it's totally possible to slightly differentiate while putting together the wider use case and making it common. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Well, with that, we have actually come to the end of our hour, our half hour rather. And Livio, I would like to really thank you. Tanti grazie, as we say in dialect. Molte grazie for being with us. Really good information. We appreciate your expertise and look forward to talking to you sometime again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. It was a great experience. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Over to Alan.
Thanks again to Livio and to Bruce for your great discussion on today's show. Be sure to join us next month for another great show or look at our huge selection of archive shows and topics at BenchmarkPortal.com. Then click Call Talk, where you'll find over 9 seasons of this show. From all of us at Benchmark Portal, keep those headsets steady and your fingers ready. This is Alan Pockhotter signing out. Have a great day.